prime creator, right? And then they have other angels under him that rebelled and so on and so forth.
So I posted some gifs in the chat of cell mitosis, which is incredible. I recently found out about this last year. This is real. This is not CGI. This is real cells dividing. And actually, if you see those strings, those are the chromosomes, the ribosomes, actually replicating. That's DNA replication in action right there. And it looks electrostatic in nature in Toroideo. If you pause it, it's fascinating. And those little dots right there are what people refer to as exosomes or microzyma, which are fascinating in itself. We can go into a whole conversation about it.
Yeah,
And
like the somatids, the
yeah,
beast
the
was talking about
somatids.
this. But
Those strings, those are the chromosomes, the ribosomes, actually replicating. That's DNA replication in action right there. And it looks electrostatic in nature in Toroideo. If you pause it, it's fascinating. And those little dots right there are what people refer to as exosomes or microzyma, which are fascinating in itself. We can go into a whole conversation about it.
yeah,
And
like the somatids, the
yeah,
beast
the
was talking about
somatids.
this. But so yeah.
In Toroideo, if you pause it, it's fascinating. And those little dots right there are what people refer to as exosomes or microzyma, which are fascinating in itself. We can go into a whole conversation about it.
Yeah,
And
like the somatids, the beast
yeah, the
was talking about
somatids.
this. But so yeah, I put a picture of DNA just in my presentation just because I knew a lot of people were skeptical. And that's why I had so many pictures of these micrographs of the complexity of the cell, because I knew that people were already kind of skeptical. So if they don't believe, what I'm like trying to demonstrate about the cell, then my intelligent design argument's just gonna like fall on deaf ears.
But
That's why I
Taylor,
tried to make a case, like, look how amazing the cell is. It's not just like a ball of jelly, it's amazing. And this amazingness is actually proof that we were designed.
so if you see that replication on the way, what is controlling and ordering the DNA to do that? Like the way that it does it so elegantly.
The microtubules.
There
It's
seems to be a
amazing. That's what
force
I
there,
study. That's why I'm so
an
interested
energy,
in them.
right? Of ruach. There seems to be a
Have
ruach there,
quantum properties.
and there seems to be something external.
I know.
That's
There's like
actually
and I'm gonna try to add this in my next presentation. There was an experiment where somebody took all the components of life and put them together, but getting them to go is the hard part. You can have it all there, getting it to start moving and functioning. If you
right.
watch the video I posted or that I was presenting on, well, actually, I didn't add that video, but
Well, hold on, because
life
this
in the
goes
cell, everything's functioning in like there. It's like something metaphysical is happening.
right. So hold on a second, because this is what I'm trying to get you. I'm just what I'm trying to hit home, right? Because earlier we were saying what were we saying earlier about panentheism versus pantheism, right? That we're all tethered to the Creator through the Spirit, and through the Spirit He sustains all things. And there seems to be an external force, a supernatural force that's responsible for this process. There's a literal force, or ruach, that's organizing everything. That's making everything orderly. And it's right here. You can see it, and I posted the GIF. I mean, it's undeniable.
You should watch The Life in the Cell by Harvard. It was actually done by BioVisions, and it shows like how everything is working in perfect unison. Like maybe I'll add a segment of that if I get to present in here. I reached out to who is this live stream at the top? I don't even know if that's the right person, but
Live stream text one.
what'd you say?
We're in live stream text one.
Okay.
Geo, you speak to Taylor.
Wait, what'd you say?
You speak to Geo.
Okay, Geo. Yeah, because I've messaged live stream one live and they never respond. I don't know if that's yeah. Well, I've messaged them twice in total, but I don't know if that's a real person or not.
No. Just message you, and you can do your presentation for sure. Just message you, and he'll set it up. Not a problem. Anybody can do a presentation if they want to. Goes for everybody.
And I would love for all the atheists to come watch it, and please give me rebuttals. I would love any feedback, anything. Like, I would love a good rebuttal from an atheist on where I'm wrong.
Have you heard of the Holiday Junction? I don't know if you know what that is.
I'll tell you one way. from an atheist's perspective, Tyler.
Hold on, dude. I was asking real quick.
All right.
Has anybody heard of the Holiday Junction?
No.
No. Well, I posted it.
Okay.
That's apparently when the DNA replicates, it does it through this process. It's called the Holiday Junction. It's literally insane. The machinery is completely out of this world.
Funny, I was checking this out yesterday. Now, you sound like you know what you're talking about. What's the folding part have to do? Apparently, the genes, or is it something that has to fold in order for the molecule? Can you explain that a little bit?
So there's multiple things that fold. DNA is wrapped around chromatin, and so it's stored around a bunch of proteins. And that's where, there's other proteins too. And this is basically where you get the chromosomes. See those big chromosomes? Like basically, if you have like cell replication, they line up in the middle, then they're yanked apart. And I have a video of that. But the proteins also have to fold. So basically, the DNA gives the instructions for the proteins via RNA. And so DNA is like copied to RNA, which goes out into the cell, and then basically it gets reverse transcribed by that reverse transcriptase, which is what Dan was presenting on. It gets reverse transcribed by tRNA, sorry. And then so this tRNA is what Dan was presenting on yesterday. And then so that makes the proteins, that pulls in the amino acids on the ribosomes to make the proteins. Once those proteins happen, the protein must be folded, right? And there's different compartments of the cell that fold it, but it's basically folded based on the amino acid sequence.
So the folding part makes it a cell, a whole cell, or
That's just one protein. There's like
no, helix.
I put the number on there yesterday, but it was like
it's in the chat.
400,000 proteins in a cell or something like that.
Look at the chat.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly get Tyler? The ultimate answer from the atheist would be that this can happen in any puddle on the right planet, the right distance from a sun.
Okay.
Without a god.
So that's begging the question.
Well, that's what they believe.
You know, like put it in any environment you want. I challenge you. You can use whatever they were talking about one of Saturn's moons, how it could have formed there. Like put it in that environment, whatever you think that may be, and see if you get life. I guarantee you will not.
Sorry, maybe I misspoke. Not every puddle. Any special puddle.
Any puddle?
Any special puddle with the right chemistry and the right amount of heat and light, maybe.
Well, you know, light will degrade the DNA, right? But they needed the UV RNA to form.
The atheist argument is it can happen
UV light will
randomly.
destroy. So paradoxical, crazy. You don't understand all the intricacies.
It can happen randomly. That's what they'll say.
It's not. I mean, then demonstrate it.
I mean, their position's quite well established by now. They ask you to demonstrate the opposite.
They cannot demonstrate their position, or I wouldn't have presented on anything.
Well, they theorize like you did.
They can't do it because it's impossible. Because multiple parts of the cell need completely different environments.
I can theorize about it.
Well, then which one came first? RNA, proteins, amyloids? Like which one?
They might spawn from sludge.
So you got two things to worry about.
Difference between
you got intelligent design. That is indisputable. It has to be designed. Anything made has to be designed. Then you have irreducible complexity. The fact that every machine needs all its parts to function. You guys have nothing, like really nothing.
I don't think Don believes in that, right, Don? Or maybe I don't know, but
I think it is intelligent design. But I'm saying these cells and this life changing could happen in puddles, like in the movies where a life form seeds a puddle.
So you could have a hypothesis, but for it to be a theory, you would have to work that out, right? You'd have to demonstrate that the mechanism, which I don't think they have anything like that. So it's just a hypothesis at best, dude.
My answer to that would be so do you. So we're at stalemate.
No. Well, yeah, I can't demonstrate it, but I reasonably I can tell you how it could happen with a creator.
Yeah, that's
You know what I'm
exactly
saying?
what I think.
You can say special pleading or it's a cop out.
No, it's
It's
great.
more reasonable than it happening by accident, right?
No, that's just a disagreement. Atheists think they're more reasonable.
Intelligent design, dude. It's in the word here. You know, more. I think intelligent design is more reasonable than
What if it's
random chance.
what if we were intelligently designed and seeded, but above that, sometimes life just starts in a puddle?
You'd have to create an
You know,
argument for that follows logic somehow, and that's the whole point of the creationist argument. Is it's coherent and
I
rational.
already
Yours
did.
is irrational.
I already did.
yes, that's the thing.
The right chemicals in the right chemistry, right ingredients in the right chemistry.
Have you
I do want to
researched it?
ask. I do want to ask Taylor something real quick. You know how they say that human genes, there's like a fusion that seems to be not natural. Let me see. It says the
Oh,
human
it
genome shows evidence of a chromosome fusion event. Human chromosomes 2 is widely recognized as the result of an ancient fusion of two ancestral ape chromosomes. This fusion is one of the key genetic differences between humans and our closest relatives, the chimpanzee, or such as chimpanzees, which have 24 pairs of chromosomes while humans have 23 pairs. The only reason we have 23 pairs is because one of them fused, which, you know, the
But they're
Zechariah
assuming we
Stitchin
came from
folks
chimpanzees.
claim that was Anunnaki that did that.
They would have to assume that we came through chimpanzees. The people that believe in the Anunnaki, most of the time, they believe that we were an accident, you know, and then they came and like we had these, you know, like we were monkeys at the time. We evolved to monkeys, and they came and ramped us up a bit. That's what their theory is.
Exactly.
Then you'd have to prove evolution, and then also it's like a post hoc. What would that be called? Like a post hoc fallacy, where it's like, oh well, we see it, so that's how it must have happened, right? But if they have a naturalistic explanation, they should be able to replicate it naturalistically.
So I'm pretty sure, Don, you believe in panspermia, right? That we were seeded, and possibly even they messed
Yeah,
with a hominid that was on the earth, some beast,
but because
and they
you
enhanced
guys,
it and made it human through this fusion, right?
because you guys take it deeper, I'll say, well, maybe we weren't monkeys first, and we were fully designed to be similar. Monkey was another design they put there, and it wasn't right or something. Or
So where,
monkey was an inspiration or something.
right?
But
So
hang on,
so
let me say my
where?
last point. With infinite regression, I have to say maybe it spawned itself, and that's what God is. So it
Do
might
you
not be
mind me asking
intelligent
where the
right
Anunnaki
at the start. It might not be intelligent. It might just be a happening.
Are you done? I'm sorry, because every time I
Yeah.
think you're done, and you're not. I'm so sorry. I was just gonna ask where the Anunnaki came from.
If you'd have listened to me, I just cleared that up in my point, which
So
was my
basically,
point.
and that's where God would have came in, because it would have had to spawn from.
No. My point was, if I do the infinite regression, maybe it just happened without a God. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, then you'd have to give a theory or some explanation as to how, because
I
different parts of
did.
the cell
The
would
right
clash with each other
chemicals
in
in the
prebiotic
right
conditions.
reaction.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, with life that we see, right? We have a specific code, DNA, and then proteins, right? And if we were to evolve, right, it would have to be like that on the first cell. It would have to be some sort of genetic information to carry its code on, so we could have evolved. So then you have this DNA, and we see it expressed via proteins. But are you aware that in the same location you cannot have RNAs form and proteins form from inorganic compounds, because they have different conditions. For example, they need much higher heat for the proteins to come together than the DNA or the RNA.
So I'll give you another theory. Let's say all humanoids are intelligent designed by a higher designer, but maybe plants design themselves, like maybe some of nature twists itself. And maybe the first humanoids came from plants.
But plants have the complexity and the issues that I'm talking about. Even the simplest bacteria you can conceive is like Galatrax was saying earlier, it's more complex than like a Boeing 747 circuitry, right? So people think a simple cell means something like it's simple. It's not. We cannot design a simple cell in the lab. It's not simple.
I feel like you're making too many leaps.
And it was the fish heart looked exactly the same as the human heart at the very, very beginning stages of its growth.
We could have come from fish.
Is that supposed to be proof of evolution?
It's funny that you say that because, you know, like they still had text. You can still find textbooks showing like the embryonic stage of a human fetus, how it looks like a chicken or a lizard. And that was all debunked, dude. The guy who initially made that up was a fraud. You know that, right?
It doesn't matter either way. It makes no difference. And
Yeah,
even
it does
if
make no
we see
difference.
similar
You're right.
components, like if we see similar components in animals, like one of their best points is like, oh, well, we have similar bone structures, like in birds and humans. Look how we have the bone, the arm bone, and then the fingers, like for whatever that is on a bone. I mean, on a bird. So like they have these like similar structures in our design, right? And they say, oh, that means that they have to have a common descent or a common ancestor, or you can say that indicates a common designer. So it just depends
Right,
on what
and-
way you want to look at it.
Aren't we related to bananas by like 65%, 70%
So,
genetically?
why do you think?
Is that evidence of evolution? I don't.
Why do
No,
you
it's
think
not.
when babies are born, why do you think you slap them on the back? Because the valve either goes one way or goes the other. And an intervention in many cases is us slapping the back so the valve flips them up and not the down, or the vice versa. Therefore, our ability is that one valve movement right at the beginning stages of birth. Because the baby is in the amniotic fluid, so it's not breathing air. So when it
Like I
comes
said.
out, you use the valve.
Taylor, once you get fed up with them, I'll show you a nice way to reduce this thing to ad absurdum, right? Just ask them one question, okay? Just ask them, in your evolutionary idea, does one creature turn into another? And just sit back and listen and laugh. Ask them that question.
I remember you talking about SC. I remember you talking about many, many different things. If you leave them to rest, they'll eventually turn back to its original state. You know what I'm saying? And I said
Yes, the pig is one of them, yep. The feral pig, yep.
So I remember this conversation a few weeks ago. If the humankind itself is causing the evolution, therefore, if we don't have any intervention of the chemicals that we take in on a daily basis or whatever like that, to actually cover up the fact that we're actually something else. So if you look at J.R.R. Tolkien books, you know, the ones about Journey to the Middle of the Earth, these things were aardvarks. The aardvark is a work pig, right? And you find them in South Africa. The point was is that, you know, you remember Ralph? Alf, you know, he was an aardvark. He was the American puppet thing. Ralph.
Yes,
Elmo?
I know what you're saying.
Alf
Yeah.
Alien
So
Life
so that's the animal there. So if we used to look like that, let's say, for example, because the information he gathered for his material that he produced was from a place called Bloemfontein in the Orange Free State in South Africa. So Free State meaning that they are free to roam and do whatever they want in their state. So anyway, the texture, the literature that he must have possibly inherited from somebody at the time that he was a young child there, those little books that he gathered. Anyway, so the point was that if we look more like aardvarks 300 years ago and we look at like humans now, then it was us causing it was us causing the evolution. But it's not evolution, it's devolution.
There is no such thing as evolution. That's a man-made thing. It's in somebody's brain. Somebody went to an island, looked at a few birds' noses, beaks, and a couple of tortoises, and came up with an idea that has absolutely no proof at all. Zero.
So what do you call it when you change something? You're not evolving it.
Epigenetics. That's the same thing that
This is-
happens with the pigs. They're not gaining new information to go back to a wild pig. They're not gaining that. They're having epigenetic modifications. But basically, gene expression, the information was there. Even if you were to posit that pigs are gaining new DNA, it wouldn't be able to happen in that time frame. There wouldn't be enough point mutations in order to gain that new function. So what's happening is pigs are just expressing different genes.
You can call it
which were
evolution,
already there.
but it's
Yeah.
but it's really adaptation at work, right? And the code's already in there, bro. The information's already in the code, and it's just being expressed. Where at one point it was dormant, and if enough expression happens to the point where this kind of thing becomes something else, it's not because of random mutations, right? So
No,
like if a wolf becomes a chihuahua, that's not evolution because of random mutations. It's evolution due to intelligent design because the information was already potentially locked up in the code.
That's exactly
Or
right.
selective breeding.
Yeah, there's
Go
something
ahead.
called a kind in the Bible, like a kind, like the dogs, the cats of their kind. That's how they were described. And so like you can have changes, in epigenetic modifications to make dogs look like very diverse. Like you can have this is what people used to do with fruits. They used to naturally breed two different fruits together and then get them to change over time. Like you can do that, but they're not gaining new complex specific information.
Yeah. And that's why I'm hesitant to use the word species. I don't agree with that term. It's an ambiguous term because if you start asking them, well, how do you define a species? It gets a little complicated because the way they define species, if they have to be able to mate, right? Once the animals can no longer mate, it starts to become a different species. But then you get like things like mules or ligers where there is times where they can mate. So it's like, like dogs, even some dogs are just incompatible. Even people right now, if you're Rh negative, ginger, you might not be compatible with your mate. Does that mean you're a different species? You know what I'm saying? So it's a little, I don't like that term. That's why in the Bible, it says everything was created after its own kind. And there are kinds of things. Everything had a prototype in the beginning. Everything had an original. Like all dogs, all canines, all felines, all people, we had an original pair from the start. Created perfectly.
That original pair is a hybrid of male and female anyway, so why not? Why don't you allow it to be a hybrid of anything else?
So let me
In other
tell you,
words, males and males can't breed, females and females can't breed. You put them together, being of separate species, and we create a new, not a species. So I guess you're right. You create the same thing again.
right.
But
So
we are a
also,
combination already. We are of male and female, which is roughly unique. I mean, not quite a subspecies.
Because of irreducible complexity. Everything had a common ancestor. Everything had a prototype
You assume
from the
that.
start. So it's the only thing that it's possible, dude. Unless you believe in abiogenesis. So the creator created everything perfectly from the start. Why? Because of irreducible complexity, dude. It couldn't have happened by accident.
it's
Impossible.
actually what's called a genetic Adam and Eve, where like we can trace back all men to one male through the Y chromosome, and we can trace back all females to one female through the mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down maternally. So even scientists admit we all came from one male and one female at some point.
It's the
Yeah,
most
so
logical scenario, most reasonable, rational scenario, bro. Intelligent design.
It's interesting when you look at an egg or an embryo of a vertebrate. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 feet, two wings. The vertebrate, they all kind of look the same. So DNA is fascinating, plugging in DNA information to what may truly be a template for vertebrate species, where you just insert length and structure in a DNA fashion. So I'm not sure everything isn't a blank slate. Every form of life may be a blank slate ready for DNA input.
All this is unnecessary, right? I think what I said went past everybody, right? There cannot be their evolution when it starts with one cell. Their theory breaks down upon conception, because if you ask them, does one thing turn into another? They tell you no. You don't understand evolution. Do you guys get that part?
No, I would tell you it does change into other things.
That's you. You're the only baller here that says that, and it's the first
I'm the
time I heard
smartest.
you say that.
I'm the
Ask
smartest
any other
baller,
baller.
for sure.
Any other baller here. Does one species turn into another in your evolutionary theory?
There is
Hear
no.
the silence?
There's no other
Dead
baller.
on
here.
arrival. Dead on arrival. Yes, no, baller. Does one thing turn into another in your theory?
No. Yes.
That's it. You hear that, Taylor? That's all you gotta do. It ends right here. Upon conception. It doesn't even pass first step.
Over generations, it does, Tyler. That's what they say.
No need to talk about RNA, DNA, ribogenes, splitting, none of that. Just ask him one question. That's it. And it's over. It's that freaking simple. Evolution is my favorite one. One of my favorite ones. It's
Yeah,
all
but
you're
the
gonna
start
hear.
of life is so compelling too, because like, how did life start? You know, because if they
Yeah,
can
that's
like,
a whole, yeah.
that's a big, because that's where evolution is that's the crux of evolution. You can't have anything evolve if you don't have anything. You know what I mean?
Surprisingly, in the biological stuff we're talking about, there's a shitload of electricity involved. Surprisingly.
Yeah, biophotons. They're people are starting to discover them. Like photo optic cables in the cell, stuff like that.
Nerves. Basically, that's nerves.
The microtubules. They're like conducting the electricity and quantum properties.
Didn't they find a rotary and like some crustacean somewhere?
A rotary
Like
motor?
a microscopic, yeah, like a
Yeah,
microscopic
that's
rotary
that's in
engine.
the flagellum. We all have rotary motors.
We have them ourselves. Wow. So
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
bro. We
flagellum
have
and
gears.
cilia.
Yeah.
I know there's gears too. It's insane, bro. It's insane.
That was all in my presentation. I'm gonna try to present in Earth Awakenings. So maybe y'all can go watch it, but I can present it in here.
Yeah, because
You
rotaries
can
and gears has come about by accident through random mutation. Unbelievable.
look at live stream text 1, bro. There's some gears for you right there.
Spinoza's God right there.
We're machines, guys. We're biological machines designed by a creator. There is no way around that. There's just no way
Biological
around that.
machine.
I was
That's what
gonna
it
joke
is.
earlier that are we robots? Is that what Taylor's saying?
We're biological robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look at us as biological robots if you want.
Some of her research were made by nanoparticles as well, from nothing. Right? Just
But we got
magic.
Look, we
souls
need
though. That's the
fuel to
difference.
function, right? We need fuel to function. We need to eat. We need to drink.
So the
Right.
nanoparticles, we just incorporated technology with already living cells. But the problem is we cannot get a living cell from scratch. We cannot
No,
make
I'm
a living
saying-
cell. So when it says
I'm
they made a
saying-
cell in the lab, they did not make a cell in the lab. They used an already living cell, bro.
After the magic code was put in, it changed itself into little particles that then turned into a human, right?
It's like a troll. It's like you're
Similar
doing
to
a troll.
Similar to nanoparticles building something.
You're just talking for the sake of talking.
Oh my god! And none of you get it? Modern references.
Dawn
Too far.
fake science from years ago.
2 words, nanoparticles. That was just too far for you guys. Sorry.
If anybody gives a shit, there's a pretty interesting stuff on the bombardier beetle, which mixes up not only 2 tanks of of potentially like superheated materials when they mix, but it has a basically a storage tank, where it mixes them as well before firing them out. Very fascinating, very difficult to explain how it was created and why, how complex can something possibly be to have superheated chemicals that are created within you, stored separately, mixed for purpose, then supercharged and pressurized, and then literally injected into the air, shot. It's
Amazing.
It is.
You guys know
amazing.
about that snail with like clad armor? It literally got ironclad armor on.
Don't all
How about the
snails?
fish, bro? Have you seen the fish? They gotta scale it with like a hammer and shit. Have you seen that fish? Bro, it's
I'm not sure, but
it's like
it's made out of
steel,
iron.
bro.
No, it's iron, dude.
I don't know what
It's
it
not
is, bro,
like
but there's a
a
fish that
lobster.
is like so hard. I forget the name of it. It's literally like steel almost.
The one that they make chandeliers out of and stuff in Brazil.
I forget the name of it, bro. I'll try to find it. The
It's pretty long.
toughest,
It's like 5 feet long. The fish, I think you're
like the
talking.
scales are like almost unbreakable. Like
I forget the name of it, but I think they use them more than the meat of the fish. When they're stoked, when they catch them, they descale them and sell them individually. And they polish them up and they become clear like glass.
I'll just tell you another theory. I heard a guy on YouTube say the other day the octopus is humans developing the sense of touch. That's why an octopus exists, so that we could have touch. So the 8 fingers and the 2 little jaws is the thumbs. So nature turned into an octopus so it knows how to feel. Then it turned into us later.
They say the octopus doesn't follow any evolutionary path at all. It's kind of like plopped right in the middle of the story.
there is no evolution, bro. It's a fantasy.
Well,
Evolution does not exist. I challenge anybody. Show me something that evolved. I've been asking for years. There is not one thing that they can show. Not one. They got millions, billions of years of fossils, right? They can't show it. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. Cannot happen. And by their own admission, one animal cannot turn into another. So by their own admission, they can never show you this. Like it's a non-argument. You have nothing. Really, you have nothing in this. Like you're better off talking about dark matter or dark energy.
what about Oliver the chimpanzee? Do you think it was had human DNA? I mean, do you think there's any story to that?
None whatsoever. It's all stories, bro.
You can't get hybrids like that through sex. You can only get it in the lab, dude. It is possible though. Like they have jellyfish mice, dude. They put jellyfish genes in mice to make them glow.
Yeah, you
You
can
guys
play
seen that?
around, but they all gonna revert back when you leave that the pig or whatever it is, the fruit fly or whatever. The next generation are gonna revert back to the original model. You can't you can't do better than the creator, man. No matter what you do, the thing reverts back to its original makeup.
Now, I'm not saying that we're perfect, but that shows the mastery that we have over the genome. That they're able to actually click on or click off or mix a specific jellyfish gene into the mice to have the mice glow in the dark or glow in general and not and still live and not develop some type of blood cancer. Because a lot of times what happens is when they tinker with the DNA, they mess up some base function and it leads to the death of the animal, the death of the organism. It develops some fast turbo cancer or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely the robot has come to the point where they can fiddle around with the, with the design, but that doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean they designed it.
Yeah, it just shows that they can manipulate it.
They can't design it.
But for those that deny that they can do any of this, like, dude, there's video footage. I'm not appealing to video footage, but there's video footage of mice, dude, that glow. And then you can go to Petco and get genetically engineered fish that also glow.
Yeah, I mean, I work with that all the time. My model organism PF18 has fluorescent EB1, and like it's like that every semester. Sorry, I said every semester. every time they reproduce, all the time. You don't have to do nothing. But I think that it's important to know that they can modify genetics. You can be weary of genetic modification. People need to understand that that's a real thing, and that they can mess with people like that. Why should we be weary about, mRNA? Because there's something called reverse transcriptase that can reverse transcribe mRNA to your DNA. The person that published a study that found that happening in mouse liver, like their study got like heavily censored. I got a strike on Twitter for posting that paper because it's important to know like that these things like mRNA technology, like RNA can be reverse transcribed into your DNA. They don't want people to know.
Because when the jabs first came out, that's impossible. You guys are fear mongering. It can't change your DNA. Come to find out through RNA replication, yes, you can affect the DNA.
It's called reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcriptase. That's an enzyme that does that.
Oh, I believe it.
And people that have I don't want to appeal to viruses or anything, but viruses can use that to put their DNA in your DNA. This is why you can have random outbreaks, even if you're not doing anything wrong and stuff. Anyway, so that's the protein that allows that to happen.
Can you say that again, Taylor, about virus outbreaks?
What'd you say?
I misheard what you said. You said that
I said
are you talking about design of viruses?
You said design viruses? They can take
designer viruses.
Yeah, that's kind of what they were doing in Wuhan, China, right? They were funding that research apparently, but I mean that whole thing is very skeptical.
I believe it. No, I've looked into it. I don't have it all memorized, but in 2020 I did a deep dive and I seen all the data, and I believe it. There's bioengineering and it's fallen angel technology. They were taught by the fallen angels themselves how to do this stuff. There's no way that we just came up with this by ourselves. There's no way. It's just way too complex. It's pharmakia at the best.
Where's your evidence that angels taught anybody how to do anything?
Well, because you have, for example, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a fragment called the Book of Giants, and in it talks about genetic miscegenation, where the Watchers literally taught mankind how to tinker and splice DNA, the cutting of roots.
So you take those words at face value.
No, if you read the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Yasha, they all say the same thing, that the Watchers, some call them the Anunnaki, the Star People, whatever you want to call them, when they came down, not only did they mess with human DNA, they messed with animal and plant DNA. And now look at us in 2025. We're doing the same exact thing that the angels were doing 5,000 years ago. And what happened when they started doing that? They got the flood. We're doing it again. God's going to get... This is not good, guys. We're tinkering with genetics. We're affecting the nature. It's like we're trying to piss him off.
How come the flood was the cure, but not the cure? That doesn't make any sense. It's like if the most known, unknown, most intelligent thing is like, man, I'm going to stop this by this. And then it like didn't stop it. Like that's kind of weird. So it's like no point. It's like if I rip up this one piece of paper, I ruin all letters and notes in the world. No, that's not true. That wouldn't even make any sense.
Lost them up. Put it in context. Be more literal.
I don't think I could.
Look it
What are
up.
you trying to say about the viruses?
Who, me or him?
Oh, don't worry about it. I just didn't really get what Demox said. That's fine.
Yeah, I think they can hijack
The flood.
right natural machinery that are already there in nature, right? Like whatever exosomes are, somatids and microzyma, if they can hijack it and make it malignant, that's what viruses are. They're malignant exosome that instead of helping repair the DNA, that's what viruses normally do. They help repair the DNA through transcription, right? They can actually do all types of stuff, but if they can make it malignant and maybe add some of this and mix some of that, then you got an outbreak on your hands. And
You said
go ahead.
about the Bible.
What about it? What about it? So I have theological justification for believing in genetic engineering, right? I've long before
but we don't have to take it to the Bible every time, though, right?
Hello, Jeremy.
Like everything, bro. Everything goes to the Bible, and I know it's your thing, but then we end up at a little 4-hour Bible convo or something.
No, man, I brought it up real quick. We're talking about genetic replication.
That's how it happens, though. That's how it happens. Somebody brings it up real quick. Now we're talking about angels and demons for 4 hours or something. It is neat sometimes, but it's like every day, multiple times a day, bro. It's gonna be a bit much.
I hear you, dude. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I hear you, bro.
It's just constant. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, well, you have to understand that when we talk about the origin of men, right, or the universe, it would be foolish not to bring up intelligent design, right? It's like, how could you ever leave that out of the picture? You know what I mean? Or genetic engineering, for that matter, because we're bringing up panspermia. Don thinks that the Anunnaki fused our DNA.
Everything links to the Bible, dude. Food, viruses, outer space, the Creator. Pick a topic that we talk about in here. You can link every single topic to the Bible.
Yeah, so we don't have to call them angels. We can call them Anunnaki. If that, you know what I mean?
But why do you have to go to the
makes you feel
Bible?
better. We can call them Anunnaki if that makes you feel better, dude.
It makes you feel better,
If angels offends you, dude. Or genetic engineering, for that matter, because we're bringing up panspermia. Don thinks that the Anunnaki fused our DNA.
Everything links to the Bible, dude. Food, viruses, outer space, the Creator. Pick a topic that we talk about in here. You can link every single topic to the Bible.
Yeah. So we don't have to call them angels. We can call them Anunnaki. If you know what I mean.
Well, but
whatever
why
you
do we
want,
have
dude.
to go
Whatever
to the
makes you
Bible
feel better. Well, we can call them Anunnaki if that makes you feel better, dude.
It makes me feel better.
If angels offends you, dude, I'll just start calling them Anunnaki. All right, buddy.
The problem with it is critters fell from the sky. These magical things fell from the sky and did these things. And there's no science. There's no evidence. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about it except believe the book. That's all you got.
Your magical critters
on the Bible.
Swim out of a primordial soup, and there's no science to prove it, but you still spout it.
No, I don't. I spout very little about that because I'm quite ignorant in that. There is science.
Yeah, left lane, you're roboting. It's not offensive line. It's just dominating. It just starts to dominate the chat after a while. You know what I'm saying? We like to keep it fresh with fresh topics. You get in the Bible if you link the Bible to every single topic that comes up, every single topic ends up the end of it ends up in talking about the Bible, and it gets stale, and
Now, trust me, dude. I'm hearing your frustrations. I get it, dude. Unfortunately, dude, people constantly either ask me either I will bring it up on my own rate, or people always ask me questions, dude, on it constantly. So it's inevitable, bro.
Dude,
But
I'm
we don't
I'm
have to talk about it.
I probably do the same thing. So yeah, guilty as charged. Yeah, I was on UFO Twitter talking to them about because they believe like in aliens and stuff, and I was giving them all the evidence that the whole UFO phenomena is demonic, and like it would always come back somehow to the Bible or like just get brought there, and you know, other people would bring it up, but then I'd always get blamed for it. They're like, oh, when Taylor's here, we're all we talk about is the Bible. So yeah.
But now it's two of us, so it's it's gonna be something that comes up. But I'll try to not bring it up if it's not relevant to the conversation. But I feel like this is relevant at this point. You know, we're talking about the origin of species, origin of men, panspermia, aliens, genetic
Aliens are still
tinkering.
the same thing. Can you believe like they just call them aliens? Like, and then they try to justify it with the Sumerian tablets, but that was just the fallen angels. I mean, even in the Sumerian tablets, it never said they came from any other planet. Like, it just says they're like, basically, what does it describe? Anunnaki has a definition. It's like the royalty or the sky people or something like that. I'm gonna have to look it up again. But anyway, it never says they're coming from some other planet. Like, yeah. And they just posit that, you know? They just act like that's some fact, like, yeah. But if you give them evidence that it's spiritual, they totally deny it. And they'll just say, oh, it's space aliens. And dude, whenever I was doing all the research on abiogenesis, like they always invoke asteroids. Like for the lipid synthesis, for example, they had to use this material. They said they came from asteroids. And like for many different problems, they say, oh, well, asteroids could have brought it. Asteroids could bring it. Like even in the recent papers, like that's what they're still invoking, and they're like hoping on these comments to bring back, you know, amino acids. Oh, we found amino acids in a comet. Even though like the amino acid production, like you could just take like methane and ammonia and one other simple compound and get amino acids. They're they're like 10 atoms, bro. Like 10 atoms. Dude, a cell is around 100 billion atoms. So you're telling me this 10 atoms found in some comet, like allegedly, you know, is evidence that we just spawned from nothing? Like, dude, amino acids don't even scratch the surface. It's crazy. But yeah, they have to always invoke space and panspermia, but panspermia does not help anything. You're just pushing back the problem. So then go ahead and simulate Saturn's moon, which is what was referenced in one of my papers I was reading about abiogenesis. They're talking about, oh, Saturn's moon has this and that. Okay, well, go ahead and simulate that environment, and then try to form life. It's not gonna happen. Or even make a hypothetical, like draw out a diagram of how it could have happened. Like anything. There's no concise theory.
Oh, there is. There is. And there are diagrams starting out. The problem with showing it to you, this is thought to and understood to have happened over thousands or billions of years, which, you know, in our little 80-year lifespan, we're not going to witness that before our eyes.
Okay, well, thousands of years don't help because organic molecules that you just work so hard to build would break down. They are unstable. This is why they're organic, because they're highly reactive. We have biochemical reactions. This is what makes humans so much different than inanimate objects. We got all these reactions happening, and that's from organic chemistry. Okay, so if we have these organic compounds on a primordial Earth, and then they're just going to react with their environment, dude, and become stable. Like that's just what happens in nature. They decompose. So time does not actually help you. And if anybody has any challenges to what I'm saying, come up here and debate me. Give me your rebuttal.
Well, you're kind of contradicting yourself in talking about how it can happen, and then in the next sentence you say how it can't happen. And it's kind of strange.
How can it happen? For example, like what conditions did it happen?
How do you have a stable molecule like you're talking about? They're going to stabilize. They're going to reach homeostasis. How
Yeah,
does
they
that
have to
happen?
put them
And
on.
why couldn't it increase in complexity if that's the case?
What is creating this homeostasis in primordial Earth? So they
Why
basically
why
did a.
could it now why couldn't it increase in complexity according to what you just said?
What? Why couldn't what? Left lane. Why couldn't what increase in complexity?
Molecular organization, molecules forming and becoming stable. Why couldn't they increase in complexity with time?
A whole bunch of words. So a whole bunch of words made by man are going to increase in complexity. I got you, brother. We're with you. Read that book.
There's a
Yeah, and
serious
so
question.
Why can't they speed up the process of evolution? You know,
or
the
give
fact that
me a
Well,
it
it's
can't be
diagram.
sped up.
Give me
kind of
some
like
diagram of how it happened. Because like they have to do back bends to try to make this work. Like honestly, like so they have to form the amino acids like through like an Oprah halide event or a Miller-Urey, where basically they're in a primordial pond and get struck by lightning and then get condensed and rain down. Okay, so that's the amino acid synthesis, and then that was actually not even possible on a primordial Earth because the oceans were not that alkalizing, so they weren't even representing Earth's atmosphere. And then so basically that happened, and then RNA would have to happen in a completely different environment. So basically the proteins would have to happen in an alkaline vent because the reducing nature of them. But then the proteins would have to have UV light. But then over time, the RNA would have to have UV light, but over time that RNA would degrade in the presence of UV light. So they have to form in completely different events. Like for example, like proteins have to form in higher temperatures, but the RNA and DNA could not be in those temperatures. The nucleotides to make RNA and DNA are incompatible with the amino acids. The phosphate group's highly reactive. Like they couldn't even have been in the same environment. So like this is what I'm saying about like what is the theory? Like what is the concise unified theory? They do not have one.
and
That's
that's
ridiculous.
not true. There's you asked for a diagram. There's entire books written. I don't, it's really weird, but I can tell you've been over cosmology because you said so many things there and made so many claims there. I don't even know where to start.
Okay, my only question, just summarize it this, like, where did it happen? And what molecule formed first?
I guess we'd have to, go read the book. But it's there. The information's out there.
Then you don't know, because if you would read the book, they represent these different theories for different parts of the cell getting created, all with different conditions and different chemical compounds. So
So
what is, they don't have a concise theory.
I don't know.
No, they don't.
You can
You don't know
rebut it,
that.
but you can't just say it's crazy. That's incredulity. You can't just say this is impossible. You
I'm
have to
not saying that
demonstrate
I don't.
and show it and to have a
All right.
significant rebuttal or debunk. You have to demonstrate how it's wrong.
I did. I have demonstrated it. And I'm not saying I don't understand. I'm not saying like it's wrong because I don't understand it. I'm saying I went and read all their best papers. Give me their best research. And I do understand it. That's why I say it's impossible.
So what have you demonstrated then, other than talking about it? Have you actually been in the laboratory and proved that it's wrong?
Yeah, go and put amino acids, go and do amino acid synthesis and RNA synthesis in the same environment. Are you gonna get a functional protein, a functional RNA? No, because they form in different environments. This is why they do them in different conditions whenever they try to represent these experiments.
Okay, what is the condition for a functional RNA?
For a functional RNA, well, they haven't even synthesized a nucleotide from start to finish. They're having a lot of trouble with that. So they're having to use like formamide to get that phosphate group on there. Like, so they haven't even done full complete nucleotide synthesis from scratch and then got them to incorporate into an RNA because they're
Well,
extremely difficult and they will admit this. So whenever you
okay,
say, yeah, go ahead.
get an article and post it, or so you're saying they're not there, but they are there.
I can't hear anything. I think I'm in a dead zone.
It may be
Nah,
me.
Sorry.
I'm out.
he's
Can you
breaking
repeat
up.
yourself? Can you repeat yourself? Because it just cut out for me. You're back now.
No, I'm in the mountains, so I'll go right back out. I'll come back in. Yeah, good talking.
Wait, what?
No, I'll back out. I'm in the mountains. I'll drop right back out. But I'm back in, so I'm just
Well, how about this? How about I present my presentation on what I have found about abiogenesis, and then anybody that wants to come challenge it, just come let me know. And if I'm wrong about something, I'll admit it.
Hi, Taylor. Name is John. I hope all is well. Happy you made it. Just a question. Have you ever reached out to James Tour?
I think a long time ago, I messaged him on Twitter, but he never responded. But I've watched a couple of his videos. Like I watched his video debating Professor Dave, but I don't usually follow him. I don't usually like. There's only a couple videos that I've ever watched by him.
Okay. But you're familiar with his work and his contribution?
I'm familiar that he does like he makes like carbon nanotubes and like molecular machines. Like he basically makes like these like nano machines, right? And he does like organic chemistry and stuff. And then he's like saying how organic chemistry is impossible to like create life for these different reasons.
Yeah, he's definitely at the cutting edge. I know he does create nano machines and races them against other universities, and his team wins by hours. So yeah, amazing story from him too. He was a former Jew and he became a Christian. And some people think he's one of the top scientists.
Yeah, he's amazing. You know, it's so funny. One of the top researchers for abiogenesis, like in current research, he made a huge breakthrough in making nucleotides, in a huge component of forming them. So he even admitted, like we have not gotten anywhere. We haven't gotten anywhere. Like, and he has a quote like how everything's highly controlled in the lab, even to get these small micro steps of abiogenesis to happen. So like, and they're tightly regulating all these experiments. So this is actually proof of an intelligent designer. To have these reactions, you need highly regulated conditions with intervention. They don't just happen naturally. So that was one of the points he made. And he does abiogenesis research, and he made some breakthroughs in it. He's an origin of life researcher. They'll admit this. Many of them will admit this, right? If you're being honest with yourself, you will.
Have you read about Darwin's thoughts on women?
No, but I read about his thoughts on races, and we're saying that some people aren't as evolved as others, and that's why they have, these different traits. And it was like pretty like, I don't know. One of the things I learned about Darwin was his theory was like supporting a lot of like ideas that today would have been called extremely racist.
It's still racist, and people still secretly believe in that stuff. They believe in racial superiority, that white people are racially superior to blacks and blacks are less evolved. That's in his Origin of Species. That's in his own book, dude. Like,
yeah, even women. He said men are of higher eminence in whatever he takes up than can women, whether requiring deep thought, reason, imagination, or merely the senses and the hands. Yeah.
you
So
get it on
the
both sides too, though. They say that white people are closer related to which one is it? Cro-Magnon, or was it? Which one's the one that's more retarded?
Dude, I don't even know. The whole thing's kind of retarded.
yeah, after closer examination, this story and theory just falls apart.
Neanderthals. I think white people are closer related to Neanderthals than blacks.
Hey, left lane, come and talk to me. I'm driving, so I'm unable to text in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Sounds like conformity or unconformity. Is the thing going to conform, or does it know how, or does it not to? That's that like what?
Yeah, so that was one of the first things I learned when learning about like intelligent design is how like racist Darwin was being by his whole theory, and that's just ridiculous. And then also he there is some other stuff like he married his cousin and thought that it would like do something good, I'm assuming. And then like his children came out slow. And then he admitted that like yeah, like his children came out like, not all there. So it's kind of
Well, maybe
hilarious
yeah. It's
by
kind of
his
like
own.
the flip. Sorry, I thought you.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the reverse obverse effect of itself, right? Oh, I'm going to be so brilliant. I'm going to mimic these people I think are underdeveloped by doing the thing I think that they only do on an island when there's only, where did they come from? They had to come from each other. So in that idea, he's doing the same thing as them. You can only mix with the people that's there to mix with because that's all that exists on that little spot. So he's like, okay, my cousin, me, keep them in the basement and keep this group, and then they're all. So the slowness becomes brilliance, or vice versa. I don't know. So like, it's kind of weird, right? Or the brilliance becomes slowness because he's supposed to be. Oh, I'm so brilliant. I get to judge the concept of who's smart or developed as a race or a species. Like who in the hell gave him the standard? Yeah, I think it's about conformity. Do you conform to the group? Do you concede? If you don't concede, you're original. You're more unconformed. You're more You're a tribe. I don't know. It just falls into that. Are you with the group or not? Do your own thing for the most part, or do you keep conforming to the group you're with, like a culture? Are you uncultured culture, or are you cultured culture?
Yeah, well, conformity could be dangerous too, though, DMOC, because there was a study called the Ash conformity experiment where they took individuals and put them around other paid actors, and then they would show the individual three different lengths of line. And literally only one out of the four were brave enough to stick to their God given senses. The majority conformed.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I think it's a conundrum. You know what I mean? It's like some want it to be confirmation or conform, and you'll have the student in asylum saying, "Well, I'm a part of the conformed. We reform you to this kind of confirmation." You know what I mean? And we need, and then the people in the thing that he's talking to, they're more sporadic and unconformed. So I don't think conformity is the answer like that, or else why would they be mimic? Why would they always be mimicking past stuff that's like not as conformed, or people on an island. It's just weird to me. Like, why do you mimic the things that's the exact opposite or anti of what they're trying to say, and then they do that. So you got a brilliant dude saying, "Hey, everybody should conform. This is the language. You're only brilliant if you do this." Then you got a bunch of people that you go to an island or jungle or whatever, and and you have a group of people, and you're like, "Oh my god." I mean, there's nothing wrong. Those people aren't dumb. Right? I mean, that's what they're trying to portray. They try to portray it as like IQ or placement in intelligence. It's not really even that. It's either confirmation or not, and you're correct. Confirmation might not be the answer all the way. Because literally, what are we conforming? I mean, like confirmation of what? Like if I said, you give me the confirmation of everything true or correct only, that'd be weird. It doesn't. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. I think if we were all given the truth, we would all conform because truth is pretty much self-evident, axiomatic. It's just there's so much deception and misinformation, so it can be difficult for some people without the discernment.
Truth is a lot to put in one basket, though. You got to put it in all the baskets. That's the thing.
Yeah, great point. I mean, I remember Kent Hovind, he was speculating that the reason why evolution is pushed so hard is because it's required for staging war, because it would be difficult to convince a population who didn't believe in evolution, because maybe they would have a faith in a creator, and if they had a faith in a creator, it would go against their conscience, perhaps, to cause harm to another individual. So some people think that was some of what was required to lay down control. They have to use evolution along with the other forms of uh, technology and science and information to control the minds. I think perfect evidence was they introduced evolution into, I think, China and all these other nations before they would um, try to start war and whatnot. I know there's specific examples. I know Kent Hovind went into the dangers of evolution. That was a great lecture. I highly recommend people look into that one. Oh, Taylor, I'm not sure if you've been made aware. Supposedly, the human rib can regenerate, which is interesting because the Bible specifically mentioned the rib was taken from Adam, and the rib must contain DNA, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I like stem cells.
Yeah.
Heard that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it interesting how from a Y chromosome, like you cannot get a Y chromosome from an X chromosome. Like Y chromosomes are completely unique, but males have a Y and an X chromosome. So theoretically, if you had two X's, you could form a female from a male, but you could not form a male from a female.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Because the Y chromosomes are very specific. They have these very unique sequences. And that.
And it would have been difficult. I can't imagine the authors knew that information when scribing, writing the Bible. It's just amazing that they got that part right.
Much later, after like advancing and being able to observe things, do you see like how it actually was correct?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The DNA structure actually resembles the human rib to me, anyways. You got the ladders. It just looks like it's like the manifestation of the DNA. That's just my thought.
Well, it was so funny. Whenever Watson and Crick actually discovered the DNA double helix, they were like, "Oh, this is like way too amazing. It must have been like designed." But they were atheists, so they couldn't have said it was designed by God. So it just came from some other planet or designed by aliens or something of that nature.
Anything but God.
Extraterrestrial sources, anything but God.
If I'm not mistaken, too, a female was involved in revealing the double helix, right? And then they didn't even give her the credit. They, from my understanding, they went through her desk.
Yeah,
Found
and
some. Yeah.
solar work. Lame.
Yeah, and when he accepted his Nobel Prize, I don't think he mentioned her at all. If I'm not mistaken. Kind of harsh.
Why would he? To give glory to a female? Can't have that. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
What about Ann Gibbons' work? You looked into her work yet, Taylor?
I feel like I've heard that name before, but what did she do?
She's the one who published a paper in like 2003 about, I think it's 2003 or somewhere around the early 2000s, about the mitochondrial Eve and the mitochondrial clock and the recalibration of the mitochondrial clock. And it's the rate of mutation that she recalibrated. But if you don't know about it, it's all right. I just
I
want to.
think that Crab told me about that. Yeah, I've heard about like how basically they can take the DNA and try to calculate like how old humans are, and then they calculate it around the time that like the biblical timeline. I have heard that before, but I have never found the original work. I've looked for it and I couldn't find it. But if you have the paper, that'd be really cool. Cause I'd post it.
Keep up the stellar work. I think we definitely need more female scientists, especially creation with a creation point of view, to help encourage the youth out there. And even maybe the adults, because I'm sure a lot of adults will change their position as well. Like I was a lot older when I decided to look into evolution. So yeah, keep up the great work.
Well, we need much more creationist researchers, but they like shame people to think like, that's just crazy, right? It can't be, right? So this is why they
Yeah.
try to attack people so hard that are researchers like James Tour. They want to attack him so hard because you can't have that, You can't have anybody
Yeah.
who's disagreeing with a narrative. So we need more people to stand up and fight back. And actually, from a study that I read, they found that most scientists were not actually atheists. They believed in something, some higher power or something. But they want to make it seem like, oh, science just promotes atheism and science proves that God's not real and stuff, just a bunch of garbage.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary put out by Genesis? Is Genesis History? That was a great documentary. They just recently released a follow-up. They had two PhDs. They had a theory that the folds in Grand Canyon, bent after the flood rather than after millions of years. And they theorized by taking samples and then making thin sections and looking under the petrographic microscope. And they theorized that if the folds occurred, these folds are at 90 degrees and such, if it occurred, it would have there would have been evidence of metamorphic change because the heat and pressure would have changed the material under the microscope, and they found that there was no evidence of metamorphic change. So it kind of confirms that those folds occurred when it was soft, the sandstone.
Wow.
And
So
yeah,
I'm actually going to the Grand Canyon to get a tour on the flood and the evidence of the flood in the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to do
amazing.
that, and then I'm also going to magazine. What's it called? Magazine like Rock or something like that. Where basically they have all these petroglyphs, and then they have petroglyphs of the six-fingered giants, and the Nephilim. And I want to go document those too.
Oh, very nice.
You know
Dr.
that
Michael
the
Heiser. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I know him.
Yeah, he did a good analysis of the Anunnaki, in my opinion.
100%.
And thinking of Dr. Heiser, did you see that he made a video regarding ancient Hebrew cosmology and potentially the flat disk?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, he made a video kind of confirming what the ancient Hebrews believed, and it included a flat earth with the firmament. He had a whole illustration and animation.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dude, that's cool. Send me it. Do you have a picture of it of what he basically drew or
I do.
whatever?
I do. I'll post it in the chat for you.
Can you DM it to me too? Cool.
For sure.